Hi, hello everybody. Yeah, it's Barbara again, and we are here in a psychological journey. So we're going to speak about psychology, in particular cognitive behavioral therapy today, and innovation. So, as you know, my name is Barbara Gabriela Renzi. I'm a psychologist and a CBT therapist and a philosopher. And here with me, I have Dr. Umut, who is a very, very good lecturer, as we know here. And he's an engineer, and he teaches innovation in particular. But you can introduce yourself, right?
Yes, thank you.
Let's do that.
Thank you, Barbara. So, hello everyone. My name is Dr. Umut Ekmekci. So, for the ones, some of my students, they are here, but for the ones who are not familiar with me. I've been working as lecturer and consultant for more than 20 years, actually. So, I'm quite old guy, so old generation. So, I started in early 2000 with the innovation concept. It was at that time quite new, actually, not that popular like nowadays. And I had the chance to run two dual careers at the same time. One of them the academic role at the university as lecturer, and the other one was in consultancy business. So it means that I also had the chance to learn the kitchen of the work, so how it's done in the companies. I started with corporate trainer first, and then I've been involved as the consultant and some project mentorship, etc., for the innovation projects. And it has been also my passion in general, innovation. It's not only my professional task, not my professional interest, but also my personal passion to innovate, to create something new, not to accept everything as it is, but just to change, critically criticize it, trying to find a new way to produce a new value. So this is the basic point that I started.
Okay, so actually, I really would like to know what innovation is.
Okay, good question.
I mean, because we are using this word a lot, of innovation, and produce new values, but
that's true.
What does it mean? Can you give me?
It's also in the name of BSBI, right?
Oh, yeah,
so Business School of Berlin. Yeah, so it's actually creating something new, but also implementing that. It means that an idea, a creative idea, is not equal to innovation. So if you want to innovate, you need to really implement your idea in terms of in forms of products, or in forms of a service, in forms of a business model, maybe, right? And it should be unique, and it should be able to create some value for the customers, for the users of that product.
Okay, so innovation, just not. It shouldn't be just in your head, you know, but should be out there. Is that right?
Exactly, yeah.
So it's something great, something good, no, or not? Can you tell me all the positive
Okay,
things?
So I cannot be objective. I'm
Okay.
in love with the concept, you know that. So, but the problem is, I think that in the kitchen part, in the process of making it real, the process is not as smooth as it looks like, you know. So there's one interesting slide that summarizes that. So this is usually the perception about the innovation workers. So if you say that I'm working for innovation, for innovative products in my company, so it sounds something very cool.
Yeah.
Something very cool. Okay, he's a very creative guy, so
Yeah, lots of genius.
they are having lots of geniuses. They are having fun, in just like an environment of full of entertainment in the company, and trying to find that moment, that aha moment, right?
Yeah, that's what I picture. Lots of movement. Also a bit of chaos. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit chaos. I like chaos, by the way. So chaos actually it feeds this innovation process. That's for sure. But chaos itself is not the only thing that creates pressure, psychological pressure, on innovation workers. And what I mean with these innovation workers is that it can be an innovation department in the company, or it can be some other employees from different companies, from different departments that come together for innovation projects, and they work together, all together. But the main task of these people in the companies is to produce new ideas, to make them real, and to turn them into some kind of structured projects. Because in the nature of innovation, it's kind of risky business, right?
Okay.
It's not like traditional project management. Because innovation, it means that there's some kind of uncertainty. You don't know how to solve that problem yet. Okay, it's not well defined. It's somewhere there, you need to discover it, you need to find it out. So it's a kind of process full of uncertainty and a bit chaos, and lots of question marks.
But you start with the problem.
You start always with the problem.
So the starting point is a big problem, and then you try to find a solution, and the solution, it's the innovation when it's implemented.
That is true. That is true. Actually, you start the process with the users, not with your team members, with the users. It starts with the users, and it also ends with the users.
Okay.
So you start by empathizing them, by observing them, by trying to understand and discover the needs that are still not met, that are still not satisfactorily met in the market.
So the user, in a way or the other, they just bring up the problems, or the needs. Or they bring up the needs become a problem. Just try to imagine the circle. The needs become a problem, and then you have a kitchen where there are all these people that cook together and try to find, to bake something.
Very good description.
Okay.
So they are the need owners, I would say.
Okay.
They are the need owners, and you turn this need into a problem statement.
Okay, very good.
So if you have a clear problem statement, if you really discovered the pain point of the customer, then it means that you are getting closer to the solution as well. And during this entire process, you don't really walk alone. You always go hand in hand with the users, actually. You try to make them satisfied and make the solution meeting the need of the users. And you make them involved to the process. You ask for the feedbacks. You observe them, you empathize them. And behind all this process, in the kitchen, there is a multidisciplinary team that is working on that product or on that service.
And this work in a similar way in different industries, right?
Sure.
Okay. So we have a sort of kind of template of how innovation start and finish. A sort of a template, no?
That's true. You can structure it.
Okay.
You can semi-structure it to some extent. So there are some methodologies. For example, design thinking is one of those methodologies. Double diamond is one of them. So you try to structure it, because otherwise it's going to be too messy, right?
Okay, so you just try to contain all the ideas that emerge from different people using these different methodologies, and this is
exactly.
Okay, very good, very interesting.
And otherwise, with all these uncertainties, it wouldn't be possible to handle actually with all of them, in an unstructured method. you try to make it more manageable actually. Because a chaos is something good, so chaos actually feeds creativity, but the chaos should be manageable. And to make it more manageable, you try to structure it through some methodologies, like design thinking is one of them, of course. And I think this emphasis on multidisciplinary teams is very important, because the innovations are not only the tasks of engineers or designers. And this is why we try to teach actually innovation to various different departments and disciplines, also at BSBI. So this is a multidisciplinary issue, and social science, for example, the sociology, psychology, ethnography, they are all very much involved actually to this entire process. It's not only about technical solutions. Behind that, there's emotions actually. You need to capture the emotions of the users. You need to understand their pain points, what they are really complaining about, what they really suffer from.
Yes, you need to understand the needs. Sometimes maybe people don't know their needs completely.
That's true.
Is that true?
That's
but they feel uncomfortable and they complain, and then you have to structure their complaint in needs.
Very good interpretation. That's true. And they cannot express everything.
Yeah.
But maybe by the mimics, by the gestures, by the emotions, they can express something. Not with the words, but with the mimics sometimes. So you observe actually people in their daily lives, in their natural lives, and you try to capture that emotion behind it. When they are happy, when they are unhappy, what they are really unhappy from. You need to understand it.
It sounds hard work.
It is hard work. But it's lots of actually nice feelings too. I mean, this creativity itself is a very nice feeling, because you then notice that you are trying to produce a unique value for the humanity, for the users. You are trying to solve a puzzle actually. And every project is like a puzzle solving. So it's the same thing actually. You should be very passionate, and also you should be patient enough to solve the puzzle. You should make good observations. You should also try to understand the general picture behind it, right? This is puzzle solving. So if you are a good puzzle solver, then you can be involved in an innovation project as well. Right?
Okay. But more than a puzzle solver, may I say you are building in new puzzles, in a sense that...
True, you are also designing the puzzle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah?
That's true.
I'm right.
You are designing the puzzles and the components of the puzzle, and then trying to bring them together in a meaningful way.
Yeah, I would say. That's interesting. Yeah.
It is. So it's not pure engineering, it's not pure design, it's not pure emotions, but it's a combination of all of them.
Okay, so guys, if you want to be innovators, you have to have lots of skills. Yeah, I'm pretty sure some of you will be great innovators here, no? Also in psychology, I see my psychology students there, no?
Okay.
Very good. So it's fun, yeah?
It is fun for sure, but fun is not the only emotion that you have.
Okay.
So it seems from outside, it's a very fun world, being creative, but actually within the companies, these experts who are being involved to these innovation projects, they are very much under pressure of lots of stress for different reasons. So one of them is the world is changing very fast, and technology is changing very fast. So if you don't follow the technological trends, for example, only 1 week, imagine that you are on holiday for 1 week, you don't follow anything, no social media, no LinkedIn, no journals, nothing. And everything is changing in only 1 week, even the technologies that we are using. But imagine that from the perspective of a company. Okay, you are in the market, you are under competition, and your competitors, they keep innovating. And every day, new startups, they are emerging, and they are trying to be better than you actually. They are trying to beat you.
Man, it's a
and we are on holiday.
Work. It's very stressful.
It's very stressful, that's true, in one way. Yeah.
In one way, it's fun, but it's stressful. But,
it is.
I mean, it's life. I mean, you want a bit of stress, but not too much. Just find a way.
It's true, but I mean...
You've been in companies, you've been in the kitchen, and this is what really happens. Can you give us an example, maybe?
Sure. I think these innovation experts, innovation managers, innovation experts, they are like somewhere in the middle between the managers, the head managers, the CEOs, the management board, for example, and the young team members. And they have two different roles. They are responsible to two sides. So to the managers, they need to prove that the project that they are working on, it really deserves this investment. Because it requires an investment, and usually the CEOs or the founders of the startup, they invest something that is not really certain yet. So it can happen or it cannot happen. There's always a risk of innovation projects, and they are taking this risk. And the managers should actually motivate and convince the CEO to invest constantly for those projects, to take that risk. At the same time, they need to motivate also their team members, the young team members, that this project can really work and can be finished in a certain amount of time, and the head management is supporting them.
Wow.
So they are somewhere in the middle, you know. They're responsible to both sides.
Hard work. They are under pressure from different sides.
That's true.
I would say, like, I imagine that, you know, like compressing like this, like, woo,
Yes.
no? Under pressure from both sides. It's hard work.
It is. It is.
So there's lots of stress.
And besides that, they are also responsible to the customers.
Okay, so there is just this way and
That's
up and down.
Yes,
so,
horizontal, vertical, in every way.
It's pressure, pressure,
It is.
pressure. So they have to be resilient.
They have to be resilient, and they have to keep this resilience also in the worst conditions. Because sometimes these innovation projects, they can also bring some disappointments. Imagine that you keep working on one brilliant looking idea for 8 months. This is what happened actually in one of my clients. We've been working about that for 8 months, and it was just like a big Lego puzzle, and putting every single piece one by one in a very careful and very planned way. And the company was investing a lot for that idea. But after 8 months, this AI revolution, it happened. And another startup, by using AI, it made actually our solution completely obsolete.
Wow.
So there was no use anymore for our project. So it just died in only 1 week.
And I mean, as a psychologist, as a therapist, I'm really worried about your client. How did he react? I mean, we can talk about was he sad and everything else.
I think there were 2 types of reactions at that time. So one of them, it was very disappointing, of course, for most of them, especially for the young team members. So they were extremely disappointed because they knew that their product is not going to be in the market. And it was a just failed project. And the entire KPI, the key performance indicator of all these team members, it was dependent on that project. So they were also sad because of their performance measurement, let's say.
Yeah.
But the other type of reaction from the more experienced innovation experts, they were more resilient because they knew already that these innovation projects, they are risky. So anything can happen actually in the market, anytime. And it's like competition, it's like F1 race, Formula 1 race. So if you like it, imagine that you are the leading one, the leading driver on Formula 1, okay? The Verstappen, so you are the leading one. But then in the last lap, you make an accident, something happens with your tire. So you can never estimate, you cannot really control all the data 100%. There are also some conditions, they are not really controllable.
Yeah, that's true. You cannot control life. So this is bad and good. You described all together bad and good. And, you know, we can look at that from the CBT point now, or maybe you want to explore more your slides.
I think we already went through the slides.
Okay.
But I think your perspective as a psychologist is very important.
Yeah.
And I need a solution, you know. Now I'm the need owner.
No, I mean, it's the reactions in life actually are sometimes similar, but also different. So because we have a different situation in life, and we can react differently. But sometimes, you know, there are sort of structure which we fall through, it's normal to fall through, but it would be better to change structure, you know. There are, you know, life is very complex, and we look at a life with our eyes, with our human life. You know, we are human, and we look and, you know, in this complex life, we can be strong, we can be resilient, but we are also fragile. So it's better to know that there are certain glasses that sometimes we put on, and we see the world through these glasses. So when you know what glasses are there that make you a bit less resilient, they make you feeling too much, they make you too much heavy weight on your shoulders, you don't use these glasses. So you know, it says, okay, I see, I put my blue glasses, I should have no blue glasses, no black glasses today, you know, should have, you know, no glasses at all and see the world as it is, if I can see very well. So we put this stuff on our eyes, we see the world, you know, through these blockages. For example, one of this way is all or nothing, it's black and white or all or nothing thinking. That you know, you were making the differences between the more experienced people and the less experienced people, you know, and we can find them in, you know, in people that, you know, are adults and work in this company, and, you know, they speak about all this money and, you know, project and KPI, and we can see the same reaction in, you know, in maybe in kids, or that they go to school and everything else. So there was a failure, okay, and, you know, something didn't go well. Oh. And we say, you know, when this happens, you know, we are angry, we are sad, you know, we feel bad, you know, all this emotion move in our stomach. I don't know what I mean, I feel all my emotions here. I don't know where you feel them, and sometimes you feel them here, and sometimes you're supposed to like, go like, no, and you feel all and you start thinking, you know, I'm a failure. But are you really a failure, or it was a failure? And there is this, you know, glasses that you put on, I'm a failure, then make the world, you know, in a black-white category. You're there in a black-white category because you think I'm a failure, when there was something failed, but it's not you, you know. And that's one of the way in which you think, you know. And so you have to think back, you know, maybe just, you know, when you start thinking like that, just put your both feet on earth and you say, oh, I'm a planet on earth, people fail here, you know, it's not just me. And just try to think, you know, I'm a failure, is that really real? Is that what happened in life? And you start thinking all the good things that you do, okay? Can you make a good tea? Yes, you can make a good tea. A person can make a good tea, it's not failure. You know, maybe you can draw. Maybe you have done, you know, you've studied, you've done university, some of you are master students, you know, you've done bachelor. Maybe you are a really good person, you know, you're really caring with your, you know, father, mother, siblings, with your animal, with your pets, you know, you're really with your cats, you know, or maybe you care about cats, or maybe you've done lots of interesting things, you know, you're a good baker. You know, you can bake, but are you a failure? Oh, that was a failure, or I made a mistake, you know, that one. It is, you know, just separate the thing. Oh, what else can happen? Maybe it's mind reading.
I really like this metaphor with Formula One.
With Formula One.
So, for example, imagine that you are one of the drivers of one of these big teams. So, in the car, there's lots of physical pressure. So, in every race, they are losing lots of weight, lots of water, and they are trying to survive with all this stress. And all the reactions, they are so sensitive, like millimetric reactions they need to give, reflexes, right? So it's huge pressure. And the pressure of team as well, the pressure of winning as well. So they are under pressure, but at the same time, they are actually a team. They are not the only one that is representing the team, right? There's a huge team actually behind it, the technicians, for example. And there's another pair. So each team has two drivers. And if you see, most of the teams, they have one very experienced driver and one young talent driver. So this is also another kind of balance point. This is what innovation teams should also have. They should have balanced teams. Because the young drivers, they are taking more risk. because they are trying to show themselves. Okay, they are trying to demonstrate their capabilities and trying to catch a place there. So this is why they are taking more risk, they are more aggressive. But the experienced one is more controlled, and he knows actually what to do, when to do.
Yeah.
So they are both learning from each other, right? This is another point. And the third point is, the race actually, it never ends. So sometimes you lose, sometimes you become a champion, sometimes you win the cup, but it always continues. You know, after each race, you have only maybe one day to get rest. And on the next day, you travel somewhere else and you start practicing for that. And after that race finish, maybe the entire tournament finishes, but they make only 1 week holiday and then it continues once again. It's just like life actually. Life is also like that. And innovation process is also like that, right? So in every project, you are like in a race and you are trying to be the champion, but sometimes you lose.
Yeah,
it's also part of the nature of this sport, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of nature of everything. You know, you cannot be perfect always. And actually, I wanted to point out 2 little things. The first things about black and white thinking, or all or nothing thinking, are typical categories of CBT. So that's why we just connected with cognitive behavioral therapy. And the second thing that sparks my mind that you said, it's about team. Maybe was a failure in this project, and maybe it can have bad consequences, KPI and everything else. But you built a good team.
True.
You built a good team, so you are not a failure. And it's not totally a failure. It's partly a failure. So this is also part of cognitive behavioral therapy, in which you restructure thoughts and you look at the reality as it is. It's never, never, never totally black, apart from particular cases in life, but usually in evolving the situation, is never. So you says, okay, and we learn what we learned. What we learn from our competitors, why they win,
From the competitors, okay. Okay, so there's, then there's another metaphor by learning the competitors. So if you are interested in tennis, for example, I'm very much interested in sport and I'm watching all kinds of sport tournaments. So last week it was Wimbledon tennis tournament in London. And very funny thing, one of the young players, tennis players, he became actually the finalist, but he lost in the final.
Wow.
So they were talking actually about his performance and how he improved in time, his performance. And then they told a story about him. He lost one of the games against a very talented and also very experienced guy. So the former ranking 1 tennis player. And after the match, he went there, just shake the hands. And after like 5 minutes, he asked him, to the champion, what can I do actually to improve myself? So you played with me and you saw all my weaknesses. So what do you advise me? How can I just improve myself? He asked it to the champion, right? To Djokovic. And Djokovic, he was so modest and he just spent half an hour to train his competitor about how to improve himself. Half an hour. Can you imagine that? So it's your competitor, most probably in the next tournament, they are going to play against each other. But he stayed there and he trained his competitor. So in the backhand, you can just play it like that. So in your foot, you should just change it like that.
Yeah, well, that's
I
nice.
think this is the way of being a competitor, but in a very constructive way.
Yes,
so the competition should not always be destructive. So it can also be very constructive.
And actually, I go back to this example because you see, we see a very, I would say, constructive way, but I would say also an adult way of looking at the situation. Okay, also down to earth way. And we have a problem and we have to find a solution, and let's find the solution. Ask to the person who's the solution. But imagine a different situation. A person who maybe had, some negative experiences in early childhood, never, and that maybe was had really bad people met and everything else, and it doesn't have the courage. Maybe it doesn't have the courage to ask sad because this person think I am a failure. This person thinks it's superior. Why should I ask Dr. Umut that we played together, he won and I lost? Why should I ask him? Because look at his face. He look at me like with the winner face. You winner face, and so I look at him, and maybe he has a winner face because it's not my win. But from looking at his winner face, and from that, going to think that he thinks that I am not good enough, I'm a failure, whatever. It's really kind of a leap. It's it's really a leap. Why should I think that? I can see that. I can see your emotion. There is a part of my reading because we are connected with gesture, emotions, face, micro expression. So logically, I can guess something. He's transmitting me. He's communicating with me. Communication. But CBT says stop totally mind reading. Because you can do that, but you don't know what he's thinking now. So to have the courage to do that means that I'm not even mind reading. I mean, I'm not starting from the perspective that he thinks I am. Okay, and this mind reading thing is a problem. It's a problem in innovation, and it's a problem in life. It's a problem in contact, maybe in a company as well. You see, in a company, everybody is busy. Everybody has to do his job. And maybe some colleague pass through, doesn't say hello. I say, I've done something wrong. What I've done wrong? You go home. I've done, maybe he's your superior. You say, what I've done wrong? Okay, I'm dressed perfectly, maybe, just like if it's a very formal environment, my tie is good, my hair, my glasses, I'm clean, the desk is clean, the job is done well, I've done this well, I've done this well, and you start overthinking and overthinking. But maybe this colleague in that moment think, where is my coffee? He has really this sad face, and you cannot understand the sad face. Maybe this morning his coffee machine was not working, and he's looking for coffee in the office, and he's rushing there, but he has this sad face because he didn't have his coffee. So you understand the sad face, but yeah, that's normal because we communicate through gesture and mimic and everything else, but you cannot read his mind or her mind.
True.
And that's, I think it's a good...
I completely agree. I mean, this communication concept is at the very core of innovation.
Very good.
Right? So innovation is not only finding a good technical solutions for something. It's all about communication, actually. You communicate with the customers, but you also communicate with your team members all the time. And mostly, especially in cities like Berlin, for example, most of these startups, they are very multinational. So the team members, they are coming from different countries. They are just like BSBI, actually. They are also like Germans, like Indians, like Turkish people, like African people. So they come together to communicate around one idea. And there are some cultural differences in terms of communication as well. There might be some misunderstandings. So this communication should be designed in a very healthy way.
Yeah.
It should also consist the emotions, the emotional communication as well. So if I notice that you are not smiling on that day, or you are in pain of anything that happened in the weekend, maybe in your family, and you are not in the mood of ideation, for example, then I cannot force you to be creative, right? So first of all, I need to empathize and I need to understand your emotional mood as well.
Yeah, yes. So what I think, we go back to companies as well as to psychology. What I think is important, and one, it's to do cross-cultural, workshops to understand each other in multinational companies. And this is, we have Ofsted, all these people that, work on that, Schwartz and everything else. So we have all these people, but this is already said. Maybe it's not implemented, but it's already said. The other thing that I think is important is to give some psychological background. psychological background coming from the CBT, the Cognitive Behavioural Therapy, that comes with the idea comes from back, okay, and then we have the 70s, the 80s. All my students know because we work on this today, all the timeline, and you work for anxiety, you work for this, but actually is a way of thinking at the reality with our mind down to earth, not in the clouds, not in our thoughts, personal thoughts, to distinguish what is really going on. So giving the tools, which doesn't mean to give the clinical tools. I'm not teaching how to do therapy, but I'm teaching you how to be more down to earth. Because sometimes we create our own problems. And I'm the first, I'm not telling you, but there is one reason why I started studying all this stuff, because I'm lost in my mind as well. I'm the first, everybody does it. So maybe teaching this kind of shortcuts, negative shortcuts with all nothing thinking, mind reading, there are lots of them. We mentioned just 2 of them today. Thinking that you don't have, that we have all these negative thoughts that come in our head, like clouds here and there, and sometimes we pick them because maybe we're stressed in a different situation, and that not all the thoughts that we have in our head are really there, represent, mirror the reality. And teaching also that, if I feel something, it doesn't mean it's true, And this is not to say that emotions are not important. Emotions are very important, but if I feel, so giving the names of the emotion, everything else, learning the names of the emotion from primary school, because maybe we know 5 names, but the emotions are very, very complex. So understanding them. But if I feel, something very negative, doesn't mean that I am something very negative. It's an emotion that I'm having in this moment. Doesn't mean that the emotions are all the reality which is out there. And this is something basic training that is help the communication. Because if you think mind reading, which is very typical, you have lots of mind reading, and then you make up stories about this mind reading, and then you don't speak anymore with the person because that morning that person didn't have the coffee, and you thought that was angry at you, and or all of this help communication, help us to be rounded people, and it's such a difficult thing. If we are more rounded people, maybe the world, the companies, everything will run smoother. No, what do you think?
I agree. I mean, I think this is also something that is missing in business world.
Okay.
Because in most of the companies, there's no department or no one representing this emotional intelligence part, right? So the companies, they run based on the operations, based on some production operations, some financial operations, but we don't really spend enough time to talk about the emotions. And usually the HR departments, for example, human resources departments, they are more busy with recruitment process, with managing the human resources, but they don't really talk about the psychology of the workers, of psychology of the innovators, for example.
It's very important. Psychology, we are that. We are psyche, we are body. So learning to listen to our body, our psyche together. And now CBT is connected with mindfulness, with the body awareness. There are lots of, it's becoming more and more. And we cannot just say, okay, we forgot about some part of ourselves. And the other thing is that the CBT, there is a sort of a stereotype, we have stereotypes about each other, about the world, but we have a stereotype also about psychological tools or techniques or methods. And usually says CBT doesn't care about emotion, it thinks about behavior, and it considers just thoughts, but it's just a circle, you know. The thoughts modify your behavior modify your emotion modify your thoughts, like in a circle, you know, saying. So it's always connected. It's always connected. So what I think I'm suggesting, like a psychologist, if you want, I mean, I understand that you cannot have a department on its own that you know, but in me we can do, you know, emotional workshop. You know, maybe a bit of tools of CBT workshop, cultural workshop, should be a bit of that. Now, what do you think?
This is true, especially in the innovation teams, in companies, in corporate life. They should definitely involve this human side of innovation as well. So the time that is spent on the products or processes, it should not be based only on the technical solution side, but also emotions of these team members, emotions of the customers. They need to have deeper understanding about this emotional journey that they are walking through. And this is a kind of missing link actually in the entire chain. And after all these disappointments or all these failures, they are not really easily resilient, you know, because of that lacking chain, lacking part in the chain. Right?
Yeah, that's true. And then innovation can be scary too for, you know, in a team as well.
Mm.
I mean, I was thinking not from the innovator's part, but from the recipient. So I'm a recipient of innovation. I have to use all these online tools. Maybe I'm not young anymore, you know.
Okay.
And, you know, people get scared, you know.
As customer, you mean?
Yeah.
As the users of that.
Yeah.
There might be also some resistance among them.
Yeah.
Because it's something new. It means that you need to change from your status quo to something else.
Yeah.
Yeah? And there's a cost of shifting from something familiar to you and something unknown.
Yeah.
So you should also be able to understand the emotions of the users as well. Right? There might be some psychological barriers that make it hard for them to shift to a new solution.
And what about the innovation in a company? So you have to spread the innovation in a company.
That's true. You need to diffuse it. So
Yeah.
you need to start diffusing the innovation first in the company. Right?
Okay, how do you do that? Can you explain us?
It's not that easy. So imagine that one very conventional and strong multinational company in automotive industry, for example. So Germany is heaven of that. Like they have Mercedes, they have BMW, they have Volkswagen. So imagine that you already have very strong product portfolio. But suddenly somebody starts to mention that, okay, EV, the electric vehicles, they are coming through. And there are some companies like Tesla, they are very dominant and they are very aggressive in the market. So they started to mention that. It means that you need to change actually your business line to a new direction. Maybe your business strategy, maybe your product portfolio. But imagine that in the company, there are some older, more experienced managers maybe, and they insist on being stuck in the old models. They say that no, these electric vehicles is just a popular trend, but it's going to die maybe in 2 years. So, or traditional cars, they are going to be the dominant one. So there's always a resistance also in the company, and you need to convince them that if you are not disrupting yourself, but then somebody else is going to disrupt you. Another competitor is going to come from behind, maybe you don't even realize, and it's going to give gas and just get better than you.
Yeah, so
right?
That's the company life, always changing.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's hard. Maybe it's, you know, I'm speaking again from a psychological point of view, no? Maybe you have somebody that, you know, it's a very experienced, maybe not a manager, maybe also, you know, office worker, and you have all these new innovations coming through. And, you know, there is the resistance. And the resistance might be just coming from these automatic thoughts, you know, because, I mean, guys, it's normal. Everybody is scared of change, you know. Not everybody, but it's very common to be scared of change because it means you have to work. You have to change
Sure.
your ways, and you have to think, and maybe you have 100 different things, and you start doing, okay, I'll do it, because we have to do it, and you have a very diligent worker, and it's going to do it, and it's going to change it, and it's going to, and you start thinking, okay, I have to do it, but I'm so slow. Why everybody has already catch up? Why is that? I mean, I have all these buttons to press, all this, this kind of things. Why can I go back to the old way, And you start thinking, I cannot do it. I cannot do it. It's impossible. I cannot do it. And then, what do we have? Again, CBT, Cognitive Behavioural Therapy. I mean, if you ask me that I'm a psychologist, you are not more a psychologist. From tomorrow on, you start doing quantum physics, I will tell you I cannot do it. But if you start telling me you have to use this machine, in a different way, I cannot say I cannot do it, because I've done similar things in the past. Maybe I can say I find it difficult. So you start changing your automatic thoughts that maybe you come from your core, I'm not smart enough, I'm not flexible enough, I don't know. It depends on the situation. They come from your core like a tree, they are the roots and the core, and then you have those automatic thoughts, and one gets stuck in the head. And we have, as a therapist or as people that know the tools, unstuck it. And just let them go with the flow here and there, and say, I cannot do it now. Yes, but step by step, because I've done other things. I've learned this, maybe I'm slower. Maybe I'm slower. I'm slower because of fear. I'm slower because it's something that I don't like it. I'm slower because, as I've done, you make a list of the new things that you've learned.
Sure.
Oh, I've learned all these new things in the past. Can I learn to press 2 buttons in a different way? Yes, I can. Maybe, it'll take me, a bit longer. 2 weeks longer.
I think it's a general tendency among human beings,
Yeah.
We tend to see the obstacles just in front of us. And they look very serious, sometimes they look very scary. But we forget looking back. And on the back, actually, there are lots of victories that we collected. But we tend to forget them.
Yes, true.
And we tend to focus only on the obstacles and difficulties that we are facing. Right?
Yeah.
This is another tendency. And this trust, self-confidence in innovation process is like a journey. It's like an evolutionary way of climbing the stairs, right? So it goes step by step. Maybe at first you start with, I don't want it. Then you climb one more further step and you say that, I want it, but I don't know how to do it. Then you say, okay, I learned it, but I need a chance to make it real. So you go step by step up, It's very normal that you are maybe at the very bottom line and that your self-confidence is not enough. That makes you convinced that you can actually innovate. Sometimes it's true, but sometimes you just need to go one more step and say that, okay, I can try, and if I'm not able to do that, I can learn it. I can ask someone, I can collaborate with someone. So I have always the power to make a progress, right? We should always remind us about that.
Yeah, I think so. I think that CBT, Cognitive Behavioural Therapy, engineer have lots in common. First of all, there are 2 methods that are very, very structured. You have to have a very structured mentality. And when you're a CBT therapist, you have to be very structured. With my students today, I explain the different parts. And the other thing, you work with SMART goals. We do work with SMART goals. So maybe, my goal is to arrive there, how to get there. And the other thing, you make lists,
Sure.
You make lists of the good things, of the all obstacles that you have done in the past, of the things that you have to do, how you reach them. So I think there is a commonality.
That's for sure. And I think the skill that we need to gain is being flexible in a structured way.
Very good.
Gaining the flexibility in a structured way. So it is the formula of managing the chaos, actually. And I would say the chaos is actually the word that represents today's world. So there's always some sudden changes, unexpected changes, constant changes in the world politics, in the world economics, in the technology itself. So it's a kind of constant and nowadays normalized chaos. But the the formula of managing the chaos is gaining the flexibility in a structured way.
That's true.
And here there's lots of commonality
Yeah.
between psychology and also engineering and design, I guess.
I think
Right.
so. I think so. I think it was a nice chat.
It was a nice chat. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know how long I've been chatting. I didn't look at the watch, but maybe we can go with the questions. What do you think? Yes? Somebody wants to ask questions. Or do you want to ask something else? Something very interesting that, no?
We can continue with the questions, right?
Do we have any questions?
Wait.
The microphone is on.
What are the qualities of an innovator? Like the best qualities of an innovator?
I couldn't hear anything.
I think he said, what are the best qualities
Of
of
an
innovators?
innovator.
Oh, okay. So like the characteristics of the innovators, right? Okay, very good question. I think the first one, that you should be good observant. You should be good observant. So not everyone is good observant. And especially nowadays, we always tend to walk by checking our mobile phones. So our heads, they are always down like this. So we walk like that. When we are hearing something, our face is like that. So we are always busy with our mobile phones, on the social media, on TikTok, on somewhere. So it's just like flowing and forgetting everything. But actually, I have a project that is called Heads Up. So if you leave your mobile phone somewhere, and if you walk around without your mobile phone, then you wouldn't keep actually your head down like that. You would keep your heads up. And then you start observing actually all around you. So I have a very interesting memory. One of my friends, she's an architect, she came to visit me. And we were just walking on the same street. And then she noticed that there were some shoes that were attached to a tree, a high tree. So I didn't notice that for months. It was like a project, art project. It was near to the Christmas time. So it was just like a Christmas tree, but with shoes, with used shoes. And she said, Umut, did you just see these shoes? And I said, they were not here actually yesterday. And then I checked the project when it started. It started actually 4 months ago. So for 4 months, I didn't notice that shoes that were attached in the tree, right? So then I said, okay, my head was too much down, you know? It wasn't really up. I didn't really observe what was existing all around me. And started from that day, I started taking lots of photos without my mobile phone, with real old camera, taking photos of some things that I really noticed on that day all around me. So being an observer is something that you need to learn actually. And you need to really focus on something, but not on social media, not on the screen, right? Because it's only making your attention less and just changing the direction of your attention to something that is highly consumed and very quickly consumed. But actually, besides this mobile phone thing, there's a life going on around us. There are some real people. It's not reels, it's not videos, it's some real people. They are having real life, right? And if we are able to observe them and try to empathize with them, then we discover lots of problems, lots of interesting problems. And remember, in order to find a good solution, you need to start with a good problem. And the way of catching that good problem is being a good observer. I think this is the first one. But you need, in addition to that, you need many different qualifications, like being patient enough, like being structured enough, being a good collaborator and good communicator with other people. But I would say the first one is being a good observant.
Yeah, observing what's around us is difficult.
Yeah, heads up.
And that's come back to CBT, because if you are too much in our head, we are not down to earth. Sometimes depression, anxiety, because we are not down to earth. We just are lost in our thoughts. We make everything bigger, you know, like, you know, from something minimal become huge thing.
We don't perceive actually everything
Yeah.
all around us, right?
Yeah. We don't perceive things how they are. We don't perceive ourselves. So not just observer of the others, but observer of who you are.
Very much true. Yeah.
Yeah, because maybe if you don't know who you are really, I mean, I'm not saying, I mean, I'm not going to what is the psyche, you know, the authentic self. I don't want to speak about that because I don't even believe in authentic self totally, but I think we are always a bit of actors, but you know, observe in that moment how you feel, you know, and how is the reality, and combine them, you know. So knowing emotions, knowing the names of the emotion, and knowing that you are not your emotions.
Sure.
And so it's like being there, you know, being there. It's being in the present, being in the moment.
Being aware of your emotions, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
should start empathizing with yourself, maybe.
Yeah, you know, and understanding that you are not your emotions. So if you know, you say you feel really sad, you are not just sadness. You're sad in that moment, you know. And then, you know, if you are panic, you know what you do. If you know, maybe you have panic because, you know, something, you are in this innovation worlds, this company that goes around and you're tired, and you have a panic attack because you lost whatever. And, you know, yes, you emphasize your emotion, but you are not your emotion, because, you know, you don't die from a panic attack, thanks to everything. And the only thing that can happen that it can go away. The panic attack is going to finish, you know. It's going to finish and go away, and you go back to the different state. So yes, you recognize that it's not you're not going to die. You know, it's not a heart attack, and so you recognize that it's just a panic attack, and you recognize it's normal. You wait because it cannot last forever, as a minimum time. So yes, being observant, an observer. You know, be an observer of the world, I think is a very important thing, you know. Also, observer of the past. Just think a bit down to earth. Go back to CBT, you know who you are, your achievement in the past, you know. And then
Holistically observant, right?
Yeah.
About your past, your future, your present.
And what about the should be? May I ask this question? There is this idea of should be and must a lot in this innovator world, or is that this must, this idea of doing something because you must do it, or is not like that? You feel, how does it work? If you work in company, how is it?
Of course, in the companies, you don't have always these flexibilities, right? It's not like hobby club.
Yeah.
So there are some must to be done tasks as well. So these innovation experts, they are also busy with some operational tasks, some KPIs. So they need to achieve some goals, just like the others. So they are not living in the dreams, they are not living in the fun world, not in hobby clubs. They do it professionally.
It's very hard work.
It is very hard work. But in the hard work, you can always find a way of flexibility, making your creative ideas real. This is the good point.
Yeah.
So not everything is well defined and given to you. But you need to define the problem. You need to define the solution. I think this is the best part of being an innovation worker in the company. So if I was born again, I would still choose exactly the same role in the companies. You know, the one who is innovating, who is responsible with innovation.
It's very interesting. Do we have another questions? Hello, Anja.
Thank you, Dr. Umut. Thank you, Dr. Barbara. It was very insightful. My question is, where do we draw the line with the increasing amount of technology emerging every day, every second? Where do we need to draw a line where the human aspect and the technology aspect emerge? Or do we just continue to go with the flow and just submerge ourselves with everything that is happening? Like, so do we still matter in the world of innovation?
Very good question.
Yeah, that's
I
my
question
question.
it every day to myself, Sandra. Yeah, that's true. So there's one perception, and it says that technology is only a tool, actually. Technology is only a tool that answers to our needs. So we can use now this technology, maybe tomorrow another technology. Maybe technologies are evolving. They are constantly evolving, but every day we should ask ourselves, which needs do we have, and which of them they are still unmet, they are still unanswered. Because not all the needs can be answered by the technology. So we all have emotional needs. For example, if you know this Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like we need security, we need safety, we need food, we need friendship, we need love, we need respect. So they will never change, actually. They will never change. But the tools to answer to them, maybe they are going to be more tools. Nowadays we are just using AI. Maybe after 2 years we are going to use another tool. But they are only one of the tools in the entire tool set. And besides technology, we still have conventional tools as well. You can still meet with a friend of you in a cafe without mobile phone, just chat half an hour just like this about some intellectual issues, about some daily issues, and still meet some of your needs just by chatting in a very conventional way. So technology is only one of the tools of that. And it's constantly evolving, and nowadays we all have the stress of being not able to catch the technology, right? It's changing every day. So if I don't follow the news, if I don't follow the media market, the technology market, in like a month, I'm going to miss something. I always have that feeling. But not really, because our nature is the same. We still need love. We still need social relations. We still need peace and humanity, you know? They're not going to change. But the tools are changing. The tool set that we can use is changing, is evolving, is something good. But if we use it in a smart and critical and creative way, it's the same for AI, for example, right? So using AI is not the main core concept. But using AI in a creative, in a critical and smart way, and also ethical way. This is what matters.
Yeah.
Yeah?
And yes, I had a couple of remarks that I want to say. Then I went with your flow. And yes, one thing is that logically, it's the Maslow pyramid is there, you know, and okay, we had others, you know, other way of looking at you know, how we feel and everything, but you know, the basic needs and you know, all this implementation are there, and there is this fear of missing out, which is you know, that I was catching up with my thoughts. This fear of missing out, that is
FOMO.
FOMO. It's a psychological thing that we have to work out.
Sure.
Okay, and here I think just going back to the idea that yes, what are our goals? You know, what are, you know, logically everything is changing, you know, everything is it's modifying, but you know, where I want to reach, what do I need to reach what I want to reach? And when you know that you have done your goals at you know, workplace, for example, you look at the tools that you can use to reach that. So in that moment, you explore what you need. So the fear of missing out, I think sometimes is created, and maybe we should is a bad word, but we have to think about it from a different perspective. You know, I'm missing out what is outside, or I'm missing out myself. You know, what I really need. Because if you want to do this, you have this goal there, you know, and then you know where you want to go at work level. You just look what you need. So in a structured way. but you cannot lose yourself in the wall that is there, because you know you lose yourself, then you lose your direction. That's what you were saying, no? So you go there. But the other thing that I'm saying, and maybe here I'm quoting Donna Haraway, I think we are cyborg. I put in there like that. Partly, we are, you know, technology is a tool, but it's become part of us. It changed the way which we think, and changed the way which we work. And we have been, you know, there in this world, you know, from long time. And also there will say, you can quote Popper, you can quote lots of different philosophers, you know, and from right, left, center. So I just quoted everybody. Nobody is unhappy. And we are, you know, they become part of us. We use them as an extension of ourselves, okay? But on the other hand, the core is there. So, and the other thing is that if we want to quote the other philosopher, Floridi, which is an Italian one working in Oxford, I think, you know, we should speak about a life, you know, that is in this other universe as well. We are in two universes at the same time, and we have, you know, has changed, you know, it changed the way which we think life, it changed us, but this doesn't mean that we should be lost in the ocean of the different choices. We are changing continuously as a human being, so we are part of this. They enter the way which we reason, the change in which the way which you look at information, the change in which we reason, the change the way which you look at reality. But this means that we should be lost in this world of change as well, because we have to know where we want to go, what we want to reach.
I think what we need is a rich life, but it doesn't mean that being rich, you know, it's something different.
Yeah.
So a rich life, it means that rich in terms of diverse experiences.
Yeah.
It's rich in terms of diversity. So if you have diverse experiences, if you have diverse people in your network, for example, in your social network, it means that you learn much more from them. It means that you feel that you are living, actually. You feel that you are living something that is worth to live, right? But if you are stuck on only one thing, for example, if you are stuck only on technology, if you are stuck only on one goal, then you cannot enjoy the rest of the life, right? So there should be a kind of holistic approach in our way of living that we can actually enjoy the richness in life. And this diversity is one of the prerequisites of innovation as well, right? So because the innovation doesn't come from only one single perspective. It doesn't come from one single way of thinking. You should bring together diverse perspectives, diverse ideas, diverse expertise, like a team. But remember about this metaphor of puzzle. In the puzzle, all the pieces, they are like complementary to each other. They are not the same. They are not identical. They are not the same. But they are complementary. This is what we need. I mean, in the puzzle, we need some pieces that come together. And our life is much more meaningful when we have diverse pieces. I think we should be able to search for these pieces.
Do we have other questions? From my psychological students, they are just asking somebody, no?
I think we talked too long, right?
Yeah, it was too long. Nobody? Okay, so I just say thank you for being here with us. Thank you for being with the Psychological Journey with my friend, colleague, Dr. Umut. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your lovely talk and explaining to us what innovation is. I hope you really found that interesting, and maybe you're going to search for more information, both on CBT and both on innovation. And I will see you soon, and for my students next week. Okay. Thank you so much.
I
Bye.
thank you too for your invitation, Barbara, and thank you for your attention, for your contributions. But don't forget, innovation is not related only with corporate life. You can innovate in every aspect of life, also in your daily life, in your social life. also in your emotional mode. So just try to catch these creative new ideas and try to observe all around you with heads up. Thank you so much.